member of the group, and he also had the shortest training.
Baby Jimin with the chipmunk
What's interesting
cheeks.
to note.
Hey everyone, I'm Laura, average therapist by day, fandom therapist by night, helping you to navigate all the fandom feels because music is my therapy. And today's therapy session is brought to you by Asian Theories, The Most Beautiful Life Goes On, a story of BTS. I know, everybody's been begging me to watch a documentary, but I'm in the process of getting ready to move and relocate 3 hours away. And this is my last week of my job that I'm in now. And life is just chaotic. So I have not really had like bigger chunks of time to dedicate to these longer videos. But I thought I had a little bit more time today, so why not?
Today, everyone knows the name of BTS. They've been invited onto late night talk shows, they've shattered records, they've sold out stadiums, they've made it onto the big screen. These days, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't know who these guys were.
Which is just insanity, because when I think back to 2008, when I first got into K-pop and Korean music and K-dramas and everything, like people literally thought you were insane if you even just mentioned K-pop. Like I never in a million years would have thought we would get to this point and have groups as big as BTS and Blackpink and all that. Like it's just surreal.
Or at least haven't heard one of their songs. And if they don't, either they've been living under a rock or they're 100 years old. The success of the Bangtan Boys is worldwide, but it wasn't always like this.
And it all started with one man, YG. YG wanted to make himself a rap group. In the late 90s, he experimented with this idea with different
It looks
trainees,
familiar.
initially choosing 7 members. And while 3 of them eventually left, the remaining 4, Teddy, Danny, Jinhwan, and Baekhyun, debuted in 1998 as One Time. Their first album, titled One for Your Mind, was one of the
Okay,
most
I've heard of
best-selling
One
albums
Time.
and won several
I don't
awards,
think I ever
including
really
the
like
Global
listened
Disc
to much of their
and
music,
SBS Music Awards
but
for
I've
Best
heard
New
of them
Artist
before.
and KMTV's award for Best Hip Hop Artist.
Wow,
The
our
group
music
enjoyed
quality
moderate
or
success
our
and released 4 more
video
albums
quality
before
has
going
come a
on
long
indefinite
way.
hiatus in
Can't believe we
2006
ever
due to
watched
the mandatory military service.
television and
The year was
videos with that
2010,
quality.
And the 5-year-old company, Big Hit Entertainment, had previously signed 2 artists, 88 and 2AM. They had their share of successes, but they
Oh,
were very
2AM.
traditional K-pop groups. Big Hit wanted
love
a fresh
2AM.
new
Okay.
sound, and upon listening to One Time, CEO Hitman Bang Si-hyuk had decided that that was the sound that he was looking for. And on top of that, the youth needed someone to relate to, and more importantly, look
Aw,
up
he has
to.
a cute
He decided
smile.
he would create a hip-hop group.
RM.
At 15 years old, Kim Namjoon auditioned for a certain Big Deal Records, which he completely
15.
botched, forgetting the lyrics to the song he was performing.
RM doesn't
Afterwards,
botch
fellow
anything?
rapper
What are you
Sleepy
talking
recommended
about?
That he try auditioning at another label, Big Hit, and even put in a good word for him to one of the producers there. At age 16, Kim auditioned in front of Bang Si-hyuk himself and instantly impressed him. He was offered a deal with Big Hit on the spot, which Kim accepted and became a trainee, officially choosing a name for himself, Rap Monster, destined to become the leader of the newly created group. Now that a fearless leader was chosen,
I don't know why it makes me so happy that RM was not only the first found, but also the leader. Like, he just has that type of aura, you know? Like, I don't know what it is. But I'm so glad he's no longer Rap Monster. I like RM a lot better for his name. And thank goodness he got rid of the mohawk.
need more members.
It's just not I'm not saying he looked bad with it, it's just not my style.
Min Young-gi was a 17-year-old living in Daegu, an avid basketball player and rapper. He had been interested
Yeah, I
in
heard
music,
Suga
especially
is
rap,
short for
from
shooting
a very
guard.
early age. And despite his parents' disapproval, started performing as a rapper while still in
Ah,
high school.
baby
He quickly gained
Suga.
attention as a rapper and producer in the underground hip-hop scene. One day he saw a flyer for a
He
rap
looks so
competition
different
called Hit It
now.
and decided to participate. And although he only placed second, the company hosting the
Little
competition,
Polo.
you guessed it, Big Hit, decided to sign him on as a producer. Hitman Bang spoke with him afterwards, convincing him to join a newly created hip-hop group. He told him to just focus on rapping and assured him that he wouldn't need to dance. He was lying. And just like
I was gonna say that was the lie of the century. Oh my god.
That the new group had a second member, known as Suga, a combination of the first two syllables of shooting guard, his favorite position in basketball. But they wouldn't stop there. Rappers were nice, but Big Hit actually needed a dancer. Jung
Hobie.
Ho-seok always loved dancing. He was in the starting lineup of the dance crew Neuron in his hometown, Gwangju. He was
Look
good
at
at
the way
it too, winning
that man
several local
moves, even when he was
championships
a
and even winning
baby.
a championship
Like,
at the national
seriously.
level in 2008. When he decided to audition for JYP Entertainment though, after a few rounds of auditions, he was cut. Fortunately, he didn't give up and went to his second option, a smaller,
I bet whoever cut him is like seriously beating themselves up now.
lesser known company, Big Hit Entertainment. His dance skills and strong understanding of rhythm made him an instant favorite, and he was signed on as J-Hope. Not only that, but they saw potential in him to become a rapper, which at this point he had little experience with. However, J-Hope quickly felt that he wasn't a good fit and decided to leave Big Hit until RM convinced both J-Hope and Big Hit that the group wouldn't be complete without him. He was right.
Of course, RM's the one who convinced him. I love it. I came back because I trusted you guys.
With the addition of J-Hope, the rap line was complete. Now they needed
Okay, I just have to say, like, thank God for RM because I cannot imagine BTS without Hobie. Like, oh my God, like his rap, he's my favorite rapper. I just like the melodic quality of his rapping and how it's like very similar to the way that he dances. And man, that man, like, it's literally like music just like moves through his body and just I don't even know, like his sense of rhythm is just out of this world.
some singers. Now, just like how RM, an amazing rapper with a ton of experience, was chosen as the first official member of the rap line, it would only make sense that a legendary singer and dancer would be the perfect first member of the vocal line. Right?
Ah, Jin!
But Kim Seok-jin didn't have any sort of experience like that. Believe it or not, one day when he was walking on the streets of his hometown, Anyang, he was approached by a representative of SM Entertainment with an offer to work for the company. In typical Jin fashion, he never followed up with them because he believed it to be a scam. Apparently, Jin was a very good-looking guy.
I love that because that's adorable. But also, thank God, thank God he did not go with SM.
Because years later, this time as a college student in Seoul,
I have
he
nothing-
was once again approached.
Just to clarify, I have nothing against SM artists. Some of SM's artists are some of my favorite, like Shiny, Hello. But the things that I've heard about that label, I would no, not with my poor
on the
precious
street,
Jen.
this time by an executive at Big Hit Entertainment. He didn't sing, he didn't dance. He was at school to become an actor, and he decided to audition to become an actor. Big Hit, however, had different
crazy.
plans for him, and convinced him to become a vocalist for their new group. To do so, he literally learned to dance and sing starting from zero, but thankfully, not without help from other vocalists.
That is just craziness. And I know like Suga and RM, they didn't really have any dance prior like dance experience, so they had to definitely build that skill. I mean, I think Suga's just naturally talented, but then so is RM, like all of them are. But just the fact that he had zero dance and zero singing, and then to think about where he is now, like Jin has one of my favorite voices of the group. Ah! JK. Oh, okay. I like that
Jungkook
last
initially
shot.
had dreams of becoming a badminton player when he was young.
Of course
but after
he
seeing
did.
G-Dragon
He
perform
totally
Heartbreaker
seems
on
like the jock
television,
type, and I
influenced
love
him
it.
to want to become a singer instead.
And of
Because
course
this,
it was
at only
G-Dragon.
age 14, he decided to audition for the South Korean talent show Superstar K. He didn't pass auditions.
He looks
but this
so
was
different
just
now.
enough to catch the eye of not one company, not two companies, but 7 different companies. This included JYP, FNC, Woollim, Starship Entertainment, TS, Cube, and of course, Big Hit Entertainment.
Of
So
course.
why did Jungkook, given
Because
the
it's
choice of all these
JK,
big
like,
companies, decide to go
makes
with the
sense.
relatively smaller company, Big Hit? The answer was simple. Because he thought, and I quote, RM was cool, so I wanted to sign with them. That brings the number of
That is the best reason ever.
Because I just thought RM was cool, so I was like, why not?
Love it,
members
JK.
to 5. The next member of BTS was just as surprised to find Big Hit as Big Hit was to find him, and it almost didn't happen.
The chomping.
Kim Tae-young was always passionate about music, and it was always his dream to pursue it as a career. However, it was hard, as his
Okay.
family was poor, his
Ah,
parents
puppy.
being humble farmers. His father told him that if he was passionate about
he
music,
was
he should learn an
poor.
instrument. And he did, spending 3 years practicing with the saxophone. One day, one of his friends decided to audition for Big Hit.
I'm just having flashbacks to Kim Boom's scene in Boys Over Flowers when he's playing the saxophone in that nightclub. It's just making me so happy. Wow, I need to go and watch that again. It's been a while. And not only that, it makes sense why he's such a good vocalist now, because the amount of lung control and capacity that you have to play saxophone or any wind instrument, because I play clarinet, but I tried out the saxophone a couple times and holy shit. So that makes sense.
Entertainment when they were holding auditions in his hometown of Daegu. Taeyoung, being a good friend, came with him to keep him company. But when one of the team members in charge of the audition saw Taeyoung, he encouraged him to audition as well. With nothing to lose,
Okay.
he did. That day, he was the only one in Daegu to move on to the next round of auditions, and eventually became a trainee for Big Hit Entertainment. They decided to keep him as a surprise member and didn't want to reveal him
RM
as
with
one
the
of members
mohawk.
until his debut. In the same vein, Big Hit had him choose something mysterious for his stage name. He decided to go with V for victory. Here seems like a nice
I didn't
round
know
number to
that was
stop,
the
right?
backstory to his
6 members
name.
for a new hip hop group.
I
3
was gonna
rappers
say,
and 3 vocalists.
where's my Jimin?
It seems like a complete group, but still there was something missing. Someone was missing. Someone that could take this already great group of artists and push it even further to achieve perfection.
You can't wink
a
at me, Jen.
powerhouse. Someone
Sorry.
so naturally talented that they could stand out in a room full of already talented artists. This project that Big Hit had embarked upon needed a capstone. Park Jimin was a naturally talented dancer. When he was in middle school, he attended a dance academy and continued to pursue dance at
So
Busan
he
High School
studied
of
dance,
Arts, where
okay.
he studied contemporary dance and was the top student in the whole modern dance department. Impressed by his
That makes so much sense, because just the way that he moves, like his movements and his lines are just so fluid that it like screams contemporary dance or ballet. Yeah, that makes a lot of
talent, a
sense.
teacher encouraged him to audition for Big Hit Entertainment, who
Oh,
were holding auditions in
yay.
Busan. He was
That's
only
why
16
kids
when he passed the
need
audition and moved to
adults in
Seoul
their
to
lives
become
that
trainee.
encourage
He
them
was
and
the
support
final
them.
member of the group, and he also had the shortest training.
Baby Jimin with the chipmunk
What's interesting
cheeks.
to note is that the group feels very much ragtag because, in a sense, with the exception of Jimin, it was. RM and J-Hope only auditioned for Big Hit because they didn't pass their auditions with the first company they chose. And despite their amazing talent, Suga and Jungkook didn't win the competitions they were in, but they signed on to Big Hit after the fact because of their high-quality performances. V never even planned on auditioning and just decided to do it on a whim. And they literally just found Jin on the streets. But perhaps it was fate, because this was the group that they chose. And just
I don't usually throw around the words fate and destiny, but in this case, that's what it really seems like. Like they're just a bunch of, really like underdogs that you would never think to like put them together. They would create something so great. It's just crazy. And also, I can't get over Suga in the polo rapping.
like
So
that,
adorable.
In 2012, the newly created Bangtanso년단, the Bulletproof Boy Scouts, or simply
Okay.
BTS.
Bulletproof Boy Scout.
저도 아침에 리허설 때 이거 보고 많이 웃었습니다.
They had the group, but they still needed the music. In early 2013, they set out to create some social media presence for themselves before officially
Smart.
debuting, posting song covers on both SoundCloud and YouTube, which you can still go watch today.
Very,
In
very
May,
smart.
Big Hit
Utilizing the
launched a countdown
social
clock on
media,
their
giving
website
out
in
free
preparation for
content.
BTS's debut
That's
album,
the way
with
you
a
market
trailer
in
and a ton
today's
of promotional
economy.
material, including
When it comes to
photos for the
entertainment.
first time of all the members in the official lineup. Finally, the big day came. June 12th, 2013. BTS held a press conference and a debut showcase
Too
where they
cool
performed
for
their 2
school.
singles,
Oh, I can't
No More
get
Dream
over it.
and We Are Bulletproof Part 2.
Does he have an R in his hair?
The same day, the Too Cool for School album, as well as the music video for No More Dream, were released.
I just can't get over how different they look now and sound and just their personas in general. Like, they have done a complete 180, especially Jimin. Like, Jimin went from like this like really trying to be like hard, tough, and masculine to an androgyny king. Like, it's just crazy. And baby JK with the guy liner, I can't.
The very next day, BTS performed the song again on their official debut stage on Mnet's M Countdown. This was the world's first taste of
It's crazy
BTS.
how talented
Commercially,
they
the
were
album
even
didn't do
back
extraordinarily
then
well. The
with
lead
their
single,
vocals and
No
their
More Dream,
singing.
peaked at 124 in Korea, and the album sold only 24,000 copies during its first year. Bulletproof Part 2 didn't even chart. The first year wasn't all
look
that great
at
for
Jimin,
BTS,
my
but despite
God.
everything, people saw them. People saw the sparkle in their eyes and their limitless potential. And they were hot, of course. On July 9th, ARMY was established as BTS's official fandom. They made their comeback only 2 months later in September when they released their single No, along with their EP, part 2 of what would be their school trilogy, Oh, Are You Late 2. In the music video for the single, they made a commentary on the harsh Korean education system, along with their previous
Okay,
themes
I'm
of
gonna have to
hopes
watch
and
that.
dreams. No peaked at 92 in Korea, but also
I don't think
quickly
I ever
fell off
watched
the
that
charts.
one.
The album debuted at number 4 on the Gaon Weekly chart and was the 55th best-selling album in South Korea that year. This was enough to secure them the coveted New Artist of the Year award at the Melon Music Awards, the Golden Disc Awards, and the Seoul Music Awards. Part 3 of the School Trilogy was released in
Wow.
February of 2014, the EP School Love Affair. This time, the lead single was Boy in Love.
Did a reaction to that one.
And the other single being Just One Day.
I can't get over how different those two songs sound. Oh my god.
The album, as well as both singles, enjoyed moderate success, with the album
I haven't
topping
heard
the
that
Gaon
song,
album
though, so
chart,
I need
as
to
well as
watch
making
that
its
one.
first international appearance at number 3 on the Billboard World Albums chart. The album also
Wow.
marked their first distinctive change in theme, focusing more on school life and young love, as evidenced by their Boy in Love music video. They also held their first fan meetings with a crowd of 3,000 in Seoul.
Again,
BTS was
so
doing well.
smart.
That is,
Engage your
until
fans.
July. This is unfortunately a dark chapter in the lives of BTS and ARMY. That's right, American Hustle Life. I'm joking, of course.
I've heard
but
about that
American Hustle
chapter.
Life was a reality show put together by Mnet that brought BTS to Los Angeles, where they had the unique opportunity to learn the true ways of hip-hop from the masters. And it was a pretty darn cringy opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless. Whatever you do,
JK's
don't
like-
watch the Warren G version of Boy in Love. You've been warned. However, cringe and all, the trip proved
I will not
fruitful
watch
for
it.
BTS, making
Thanks for the
connections,
warning.
performing their first US concert for free in front of 200 fans, as well as their first appearance at KCON. The next month, in August, BTS released their first full-length studio album, Dark and Wild. The album featured 2 singles, Danger and War
I love
Formula.
that maroon colored hair that some of them have been wearing.
The album featured a
I need to
marked
watch that
shift
one.
in sound with a touch of R&B and electronica. It was met with moderate success. It peaked at number 2 in Korea, selling over 200,000 albums. In October
Okay.
and again in May of the following year, BTS went on their first and second concert tours, known as the Red Bullet Tour, where they visited 13 different countries, including Japan, the Philippines, Australia, the US, Mexico, and many others. They also came out with their first Japanese album in December, Wake Up, featuring many Japanese versions of their songs, as well as original tracks Wake Up and The Stars, followed by a Japan tour and a solo concert in Korea.
I swear. Their management, and I'm sure that they came up with a lot of these ideas themselves, so I think it's like a mix of them and their genius as well as their management's genius, but just like all of the decisions that they have made in terms of marketing have been beyond smart. Like, and K-pop, what is it with K-pop in Japan? Like, that's definitely a market you want to get into.
Although Dark and Wild got decent attention, they needed something different. They needed something that would shake things up. They got to
Ah,
April
Jin,
29,
that
2015
hair.
was their comeback. When this album was produced, each member had a hand in writing songs for the album. They again changed their sound from aggressive hip-hop to youthful, colorful styles. And not only their sound, but their image as well. This can be evidenced by their newest EP, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life. And
I just have to say, don't get me wrong. I know that there are people who love their earlier stuff, obviously, because they were growing a fandom even back then. But I did check them out like when they first debuted, and I just wasn't a fan. I was never a big fan of like really aggressive hip hop and then rap either. Although I'm becoming a BTS rap fan, that's for sure. But I because their style now like is definitely better suits me and my taste in music. I'm so happy that they made that switch and that they kind of softened things up and that they got more involved in like writing their songs and producing and creating and all of that and just being more raw and vulnerable. And so I'm so grateful for that little stroke of genius.
just by looking at the album cover, they ditched the dark colors and the bulletproof vest symbol that had become so synonymous with BTS and replaced it with a
they went
simple
from
white
hard
and
to
pink
soft,
background
like,
overlaid
yeah.
with the title. And then they dropped the single that would change everything. I Need You.
But again, ooh, I need to watch that one. Ooh.
It was sentimental. It was
But
hopeful.
again,
it was
I have
new.
nothing
Just
against-
by looking at the music video, we can see that.
I can't talk and speak at the same time. Oh my God. And listen at the same time. I just want to clarify again, I am not against their earlier stuff and they were super talented even in the beginning. So I'm not saying that. I am just saying I prefer their look and their persona and their sound and their music and their lyrics now. Okay? So nobody come at me.
BTS has also ditched their punk bad boy image and replaced it with a more real, vulnerable, down-to-earth, and youthful feel. This proved to be the change that BTS needed for mainstream
love that.
success. Billboard called it one of the greatest K-pop songs of the decade.
because
It
they're
charted at number
relatable.
5 in Korea, and even led them to their first music show win on SBS MTV's The Show. And that wasn't all. They released their second single, Dope, on June 24th, which started off with a poignant line from RM.
어서 와. 방탄은 처음이지?
Welcome. Is this your first time with BTS? And you know what? For a lot of people, it was. In a
How
way,
adorable.
their first studio album and tour can be seen as their stepping stone between old school BTS and new school. In November,
Okay.
they came back with their follow-up EP, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 2, the second EP in what would be dubbed the Youth Trilogy, which featured the single Run. The album focused even more on the frivolity, friendship, and carefree attitude that comes with enjoying one's youth, but just like in I Need You, contrasted that with suffering, depression, loneliness, society, and the stark and sometimes dark reality of life. Compare this with the far cry of the No
And that's
More
what
Dreams
makes them
music
so
video. It felt
unique,
real.
is how
it was darker,
raw and
grittier,
vulnerable they
more
are.
humble, more meaningful, and most importantly,
Jimin in the
RM lost his
bathtub.
mohawk. Run also
The
connected
picture on
narratively
fire.
with their previous single,
Sounds
I
safe.
Need You, and another video released in September titled On Stage Prologue established what would come to be known as the BTS universe, or the BU, which would eventually combine music videos, short films, books, short stories, webtoons, and even a mobile game to create a cohesive story. And I won't go down this rabbit hole because there is a lot to digest, but it's definitely something to look into if you're a hardcore ARMY. The same month,
So I definitely in the future want to get into the BU. Just don't have time to really dedicate to that right now, but definitely in the future is something I'm planning on. But again, they're geniuses. Like, honest to God, geniuses. Like, they are building an empire in the most smart way possible, especially with the BU. Like, they are using all of those different kinds of content, you know, from the apps and the games to the stories to the little cartoons to the music videos and all of those things. It is so smart because it allows people to find things that interest them. If one person's like, I don't care about the games, but I want to look at the stories, or the other one's interested in the cartoons, or these ones are just interested in music video, like there's something for anyone. Something that is going to suit your taste and what you personally enjoy when it comes to entertainment and just media content in general. Just so freaking smart.
they kicked off their third tour, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life On Stage Tour, where they performed songs from their two recent EPs, Part 1 and Part 2. And Part 2 was a hit, their biggest so far. It topped the weekly Gaon album
V,
and Billboard
keep
World Album
your
charts,
tongue
and on
in
Billboard,
your
it
mouth,
stayed
sir.
there for multiple weeks, the first K-pop act to do so. It also appeared on the Billboard 200
awesome.
albums chart. Not world albums, which is reserved for foreign non-English songs, but simply the top 200 albums, peaking at 171. Which is kind of amazing considering that this was back in 2015. They also received Best World Performer at the 17th Mnet Asian Music Awards. This brings us to part 3 of the Youth
BTS in
trilogy,
all black.
The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Young Forever, released on May 2nd, 2016, which featured probably my favorite BTS album cover. Young Forever was actually a compilation album of parts 1 and 2, so it was mostly the same songs, but it was notable that it had some new singles, Epilogue,
I like
Young
that hair
Forever,
color on Jimin.
Fire, and Save Me. The latter two performed exceptionally well, with both songs topping the Billboard World
I
Digital
still need to
Songs
watch
chart.
Save Me.
This was also the second BTS album to chart on the Billboard 200 at 107, and it topped both the Gaon Weekly and Monthly chart, which earned BTS their first Daesang.
방탄소년단 축하드립니다.
Album of the Year at the 8th
Look at
Melon Music Awards.
RM, you just
They
look
went on to
so
do the second half of
overwhelmed.
their tour, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life on Stage, Epilogue, selling
Ooh,
out
I
many
wanna
of
go
their
to Macau.
concerts
That's on
and
my-
even
my
selling out
travel
KCON
to-do
in the
list.
US where they headlined the event. In September, they dropped their second Japanese album, Youth, featuring Japanese
I always wanted to
versions
go
of
to
tracks from
KCON,
the
but I never
previous
got the
3
opportunity
EPs.
to. Again, getting into that Japanese
Gold
market.
at number 1 on Japanese charts. And only a month
Smart.
later, in October of 2016,
I feel like I'm just gonna
it
keep
happened.
saying that.
BTS
Smart.
dropped their second studio album, Wings. It sold over 500,000 copies in its first week. In comparison, The Most
Wow.
Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 1, released just the previous year, which topped the Gaon chart, sold about 500,000 in its entire lifetime. Wings was big, but the true showstopper was its lead single, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which got them their first
And I know that people keep telling me that because of how much I love symbolism and imagery that I really need to watch that, and trust me, I will. But I also had my friend who was like, girl, like you better wait until you've got an hour or two to like dedicate to reacting to it because you're gonna nerd the hell out. So I definitely plan on it. I'm just waiting until I just have more time to really just focus on it, and I'm super excited. And Jimin with silver hair and that dark blue jacket, like, sir,
all kill,
What
topping
are you
8
doing?
music charts in South Korea. Its music video gained 6 million views in the first 24 hours, which broke the YouTube record for the highest number of views of a K-pop group music video within 24
Craziness.
hours. The album hit number 26 on the Billboard 200, the highest ever charting K-pop album on Billboard. They ended up selling 1.5 million copies in South Korea in
just to compare and like contrast, like I've gone on and I've looked at some of like SHINee, like I've got, you know, SHINee was one of my first loves, Super Junior, EXO, some of them. But like when I've looked at some of SHINee and Super Junior's like old stuff, even now, like they may have like a couple 100,000 still, or like 1 or 2 million like tops for a lot of their stuff.
2016 alone, and it netted them the Artist of the Year award at the
Just
Mnet Asian Music Awards
insanity.
that same year, the first non-Big 3 artist ever to receive that.
Oh, she's one of my favorite K-drama actresses.
방탄소년단.
After Blood, Sweat, and
Love
Tears, they
RM.
were on a roll. BTS was unstoppable. In February of 2017, they released the instant hit Spring Day, which,
I'm
quoting a Korean
crying.
reviewer, embodied nostalgia and sorrow and opened a new chapter in BTS's aesthetics and lyricism.
RM
They
have
attracted
blue
fans
eyes? Is he
across
wearing
generational
contacts?
Boundaries, which, by the way, is still on Korean charts after nearly 4 years. And the same day I'm writing this, it
That's
ranked
another one
number
I need to
53
watch.
on Melon. It won Song of the Year at the 9th Melon Music Awards. After the release of Spring Day, they went on yet another tour. The 2017
love how
BTS
emotional
Live
RM
Trilogy,
gets.
Episode 3, The Wings Tour.
Ooh,
The tickets sold
love
out
the
within
imagery
minutes,
in
including in
those.
the United States, the first K-pop artist to do so, and went on to win Best Social Artist at the Billboard Music Awards. The first for a Korean artist, but they would go on to win this award 4 years in a row. The next year was a period of massive growth for both the group's popularity as well as their style. They released the Love Yourself series, starting with Love Yourself Her in September of 2017, Love Yourself
And I definitely am planning on getting into the Love Yourself albums. I know people keep telling me it's like it's based on Jungian psychology and theories, and you're gonna geek out of it over it. And I'm like, yes, I know. I definitely am going to get to them, and I'm super excited about it.
Tear in May of 2018, and Love Yourself Answer in August of 2018. 3 albums that gave us some of the most classic.
I love
BTS
those
songs
album
that we know
covers
and
too.
love
They're
today,
so pretty. The
such
line
as
art.
Mic Drop,
Okay, that's another highly requested
Fake
one.
Love,
So is that one. Ooh, that's pretty.
Idol, and of course,
RM. Ooh.
all 3
I like the
albums
music
were
for that
commercial
one.
successes. Her being their first album to top 2 million album sales. But Tear and Answer also did equally well. These 3
Impressive.
albums, as well as their Japanese album, Face Yourself, proved that they weren't
Ooh,
done
I
yet,
love that
not
cover.
even close. During this time, they
Their
shattered
album
countless
covers are
records. Their
something
singles
else.
went
So
platinum. They
beautiful.
topped charts, they won awards, and not only did they break YouTube records, but they broke records that they themselves set again.
Like,
and
I would
again
literally buy their
and
album
again.
covers.
This
It's
is
just
the period
art
where
to like
BTS
hang on my
really started
walls.
enjoying global recognition, working with huge Western artists such as Nicki Minaj, Designer, and Steve Aoki.
It's a good way to break into the American music industry. Collaborations.
And even though they were already, without a doubt, the biggest act to ever come out of South Korea, they had their eyes set even higher. They went on tour once again for the Love Yourself World Tour. During this tour, they collaborated with Steve Aoki to make the song Wasted on Me. Notable for being their first all-English feature, and it also served as a jumping-off point for BTS.
Was that the
to
guy
gain
from
following of
Riverdale?
English speakers. Not that they were Map of the Soul Persona. First things first, you can't mention Map of the Soul Persona
Boy with
without
Love.
mentioning Boy with Love. It was simple math. What do you get when you
Jimin. Jimin with that coral pinky orange hair and the black
Map of the
just
Soul
gets me
Persona.
every time.
First things first, you can't mention Map of the Soul Persona without mentioning Boy with Love. It was simple math. What do you get when you cross the singer of one of the best charting songs of all time that went platinum 59 times in 13 different countries with, without a question, the most globally dominant pop group of all time? Well, you get this. Nothing less than an instant hit. Number 8 on Billboard Hot 100. Platinum in the US. 21 music show wins. Number 1
And
on
in
iTunes
Korean.
in 67
Wasn't
different
even an
countries.
English
the most
track.
liked and the most viewed YouTube video in the first 24 hours. The fastest video to reach 100 million views. A current view count of over 1 billion views. 7 boys, 1 girl.
1 billion views. Like, that is literally like 1/7 of the world's population.
And 7 different
God.
characters. They were the talk of the town.
Never,
invited
never
to
in my
talk show after
wildest,
talk show after
wildest
talk show.
dreams,
The second
back when I
single on
first
the
got
album
into
was Make It
K-pop,
Right.
would I have ever thought that would ever happen? Ooh.
Written by Ed Sheeran
What song is
himself,
that?
including a
Ed
version
Sheeran? I
featuring
love Ed
Cloud.
Sheeran.
The album debuted at number 1 on Gaon and sold 3.2 million copies its
Which
first
one is
month,
it?
and that's only in
Comment down
Korea.
below,
It
let me
became
know,
the
'cause I'm
best-selling
loving that
album
music.
in South Korea ever. It swept every major Korean music show, winning Album of the Year in each one of them. They followed up this legendary EP with the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour, where they
Yeah,
sold
I need
out
to know
both
what song
the
that
Rose
is.
Bowl and the Wembley Stadium in only an hour. The only non-English speaking act to do.
They sold out the Rose Bowl and the Wembley Stadium in an hour.
So they even performed as a solo act in Saudi Arabia, the first foreign act to do that. The last stop of their
Wow.
tour was at South Korea's largest venue.
They're
the
just
Seoul
breaking all
Olympic
sorts of
Stadium.
records.
They ended up grossing $200 million. During this time, they also created a visual novel style game for mobile devices called BTS World, where the player can interact
Again,
with the
I'm
members.
saying
This
geniuses.
also came with an original soundtrack with
Geniuses.
tracks unique to the game featuring Western artists. Zara Larson, Charlie XCX, and Juice WRLD for the tracks A Brand New Day, Dream Glow, and All Night, respectively. In December of 2019, the group swept the grand prizes for both the Melon and Mnet Music Award shows, the first artist to do that. Map of the Soul Persona was legendary, truly a marvel in modern music. So, how could BTS follow up the best-selling album in South Korean history, you may ask? Easy. Make an even better-selling album. And that's what they
Of
did
course.
with Map of the Soul 7. The album was released on February 21st of 2020, featuring the singles Black Swan
Need to watch that one.
and On.
I still need to watch that one.
and sold over 4.1 million albums in just the first week, and the first Korean album to be certified as quadruple million on the Gaon Music Chart. It debuted at #1 on music charts all over the world, including the US, Korea, the UK, Japan, and much of Europe. It's
Oh,
not
I'm
an
loving that
exaggeration to
guitar in
say
the
that this
background.
album left a permanent mark on the world, launching BTS into legendary status and becoming the best-selling artist in South Korean history.
On Kinetic
BTS had
Manifesto
scheduled
is
a
still
Map
my
of the
favorite
Soul
music
tour
video
for
I've seen
April
so
of that
far.
year, which would have undoubtedly outsold their record-breaking tour only a year prior. But unfortunately, the COVID pandemic caused the entire tour to be postponed, including the show at the Rose Bowl, which I was supposed to attend. But that didn't stop BTS, who performed virtual concerts, spoke at the Dear Class of 2020 graduation event, and released a Japanese version of their recent album with an original
virtual
Japanese single,
concerts.
Stay
I mean,
Gold. And to top it all off, this was only June. At this point, it was clear that BTS had already dominated their home turf, and they had topped the music charts all over the world. This time, their sight was set up. Remember that scene in The Social Network where Mark
my
and
God,
Sean talk about how they
Justin.
don't want $1 million, they want $1 billion. How they're not interested in catching 14 trout, but they'd rather catch an 800-pound marlin? Well, that's what they set their sights on. The marlin, the biggest music industry in the world, the United States. And at the top of that music industry, #1
Good
on
for
Billboard Hot
them.
100. This small group from a company that virtually no one had heard about 8 years ago planned to take on Goliath himself and dominate the American industry on their home turf. And all they
that is just, it blows my mind because even groups from like SM and was it JYP or JG, I don't whatever, from like the big labels couldn't do that. Again, fate, destiny, I don't know what you call it, but and just the fact that they, when it comes to marketing, they are geniuses.
had to do was speak English. August 21st.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say it's Dynamite. And I know I've heard a lot of people say that there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's definitely some fans who are upset that they felt the need to make an English album and, you know, that they wanted them to get big in America just based on the Korean music. And I totally understand that because their Korean music, like I love it. Obviously, I've been into Korean music since 2008. But that said, like, let's be honest. Like, how many people do you know go out of their way to listen to music in other languages? It's just, you don't really do that because you just don't. Like, if I can't understand what's being said and I can't really like sing along or really enjoy it, like I'm not going to do it. Or if I think that I'm not going to be able to enjoy it or understand it or be able to relate to it, I'm just not going to do it. So really, Dynamite and Butter are really just kind of like those getting their like toe in the door to like get people interested and to catch their attention. And then they'll go and they'll be like, okay, what else has BTS done? And then they check out the Korean music and find out that even though it's in a language they don't understand, they can still relate to it and they can still enjoy it and sing along to it. Like it's super smart. And I love the fact that they made English tracks because it really has helped to get more English speaking people interested in Korean music, because you don't just listen to Dynamite and Butter. I'm assuming not. I'm assuming if you love Dynamite and Butter, then you're probably going to go and look at their other music and fall in love naturally with their other music. So I don't really understand what the hate is around that. If anything, it's just making them bigger, especially because 99% of their music is in Korean. It's not like they're going to stop making Korean music and just do English music in order to appease, you know, the US audience or Western audience. So I don't know. I don't understand what the hate is around that.
Enter Dynamite. Their first and only English single so far, simultaneously performed better than anyone had expected, but at the same time is exactly what we as an audience had come to expect from the legendary boy band themselves. And they did it. They reached #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, the Global 200, and the Global Excluding US chart, and they made sure that if you hadn't heard of them before, you definitely have now. And if that wasn't already the biggest flex, on October 2nd, they
Okay,
came out
V.
with Savage Love BTS Remix with Jason Derulo.
Aw,
getting number 1
cute.
on the Billboard Hot 100 again, less than 2 months after already getting it number 1 with Dynamite, and on the Billboard 200, where they actually replaced themselves at number 1, the first artist to do so ever. So what makes BTS so special? How did they achieve all this? K-pop is a genre that spans
crazy.
for at least 30 years, and there have been hundreds of boy groups and hundreds of girl groups. What did BTS do to rise above all of them and break through to markets never before seen?
They're marketing
Historically, the boy
geniuses.
band industry has been dominated by white English-speaking bands. And the fact that BTS
Very
has
true.
not only held their own, but blew any sign of
I should
competition
also
out of the
I should also say they're marketing geniuses, and just the fact that they are so relatable and so vulnerable in their music, and they're part of like the creative process of basically all aspects of their music, right down to their music videos, which that's part of the reason that Taylor Swift is so huge, is because she writes 99% of her songs, or at the very least co-writes it. She's into the producing, like, you know, when it comes to her music, you know, when it comes to BTS's music, that it's going to be something real and something from their heart.
water on a global scale can be attributed to nothing less than their talent, hard work, and a bit of a 1 in a million miracle. They did it
Very
through their
true.
own blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak. Around the world, we see that boy bands have pretty much fallen into obscurity, but BTS
Oh, I need to
is
watch that
thriving.
one.
And though I've stated this all before, it's worth saying again, in contrast to other bands who would sing about romantic relationships with girls and what some would call predictable bubblegum pop tunes, BTS is continuously pushing the envelope and changing their styles. According to an article by Vulture.com, they describe this style as much less a successor of the Backstreet Boys and more of the successors of Michael Jackson, whose choreography and charisma were unprecidented. While of course there's
Very
a lot of love
true.
for the angelic vocals of BTS, rap has
Although
also
I love
played
the
a very
Backstreet Boys
important part in
and Michael
creating their
Jackson,
style.
so
In stark contrast to the typical boy band where every member sings, it's so refreshing when you're in the middle of a song and you hear RM's raw rapping skills, J-Hope's energy,
true.
or
It keeps
Suga's
it interesting.
soul into every single line. Interestingly enough, at the first glance, it seems that the success of BTS was miraculous, despite not being part of the Big Three. But it can also be argued that their success was because of their separation from the Big Three. Their label, Big Hit Entertainment, whose founder emphasizes artistic freedom more than anything else, allowed them to make their own sound. And going back to BTS Universe, it's not often that a K-pop group does something special with
important.
each of their songs and albums,
Makes them that
utilizing
much
strong
more relatable.
storytelling that can go beyond simply the song itself, but rather interconnected with other songs and even other albums to create one large overarching story. And not only do they
and that is also, I swear, I can't, obviously I have no other words today other than smart and genius, but I'm gonna say genius. That's one of the reasons in publishing, they tell you that series is where it's at. When it comes to especially books, right? Because you have your first book where you get a few fans who are then loyal and come back for the second book, and when you release the second book, all of the marketing and hype and buzz created for the second book then trickles down to the first book, so you get more new people who are reading the first book and the second book, and then you have the third book that comes out and there's hype, buzz, and marketing for that trickles down and creates more fans, and it just creates a loyal audience that just keeps coming back. And that's basically what they're doing when they're creating these like storylines, is because people want to know, okay, so this is just part of the story. Like, in order to see where it goes from here, I got to keep coming back. I got to keep watching their music videos or reading their stories and whatever. Marketing 101, super, super smart. And it just creates loyalty in a way that like standalone novels or music videos or things like that just don't.
all have their own expertise in performance, but also each of them have had the experience of writing and producing their own music, and they're not afraid to let their style evolve over time. BTS during their debut is such a far cry from Wings era BTS and current day BTS. They also chose to tackle more adult issues instead of simply love and girls. While they definitely didn't have a shortage of those, they also cover other very important issues such as mental health, regret, following your dreams, hard work, self-love, and many, many, many others.
Love
Add
it.
that to the fact that as fans, we can feel the authenticity of the members themselves. They seem approachable. BTS seems like there's a place for every type of fan. And in this fast-paced world,
Yeah, and that's always impressed me about like the K-pop industry is they usually try to engage fans a lot, like with the fan meets and everything. But having the fan meets, I've heard they do like V lives, they have vlogs, and they even answer and talk with people sometimes on social media. Like, I just keep saying it, marketing
Things change
geniuses.
at unthinkable speeds. BTS has stayed grounded and faithful to who they were and who they are. Those kids we saw on American Hustle Life, along with their dreams and passions, are the same men who stand before us today. And while some artists like to keep their personal lives private, BTS gives us a look at their personal lives through their vlogs, which allow us to become more connected to them than ever before.
Relatability sells.
What is truly amazing
And
is
I
that
love
with the
what I love about it is that even though it's like one of the smartest things that you can do in terms of marketing, it doesn't come off as they're just doing it for marketing purposes. Like, it seems like they're just doing it because they love their fans, they love ARMY, and they want to stay connected to ARMY.
exception of just one single, they're doing this all while singing in their native tongue, Korean. Their music holds so much power that it literally breaks through the barriers of language. And no, they're not done yet. Today, November 20th, they're releasing their 5th studio album, B. Their singles on the album, Dynamite and Life Goes On. And chances are, life will go on for BTS. Chances are they'll continue to break even more records.
Life Goes On.
They've shown that they're
I
capable
can't even
of
speak,
dominating
I'm so
music charts across
flustered.
the world and even reaching across the Pacific Ocean and conquering the music industry in the United States. What's next for them? Mars? In any case, they've only started in 2013 and BTS is as strong as it's ever been. As
Can
far
we
as we
vote
know,
for
they will
a
only
space music
continue
video?
to light it up like a dynamite.
Okay, so that was super fun to watch, and just get to learn more about like their stories and how they got to be part of Big Hit. That is just crazy. Like, seriously, fate is on their side because they have overcome basically any and all obstacles and barriers to achieve success. Like, just crazy. But it's all because of them. It's all because of them and their talent and their hard work, and obviously because they are with a label that actually supports them and encourages them to be authentic and to be vulnerable and to be relatable and to be really involved in the creative process across all levels. Oh my God. And I can't stop nerding out over just the marketing genius strategies that they have been using, from engaging with their fans in every way possible, from the BU universe that it has like content that is suitable. I mean, whatever you want and whatever you're interested in, you can find. From talking about like mental health and things in their songs, like just going into the Japanese market, everything that they have done. They're building an empire, and I am here for it. But I also just can't get over Big Hit, and I think people call him like Bang PD, right? And just how different he is from SM, and I think it's JYP, right? And there's the other one. I don't know. The only one that I'm really familiar with is SM because I love Shiny. I'm a Shaywall. So I've always known about SM. But it is just so different from what I've heard about SM. Like that, just letting them like take control, for the most part, take creative control of their music and just talk about things that most other artists would not touch with a 10-foot pole. And they let them explore genres. So it's not like every single album is like the same thing over and over again. Like whatever they're feeling inspired by, whatever genre they want to explore, like that's what they do. And it works. And I love it. In fact, if they want to, drop a couple like rock songs or just an entire rock album, I will be the first to buy. Like, for real. Like, that is probably one that I would pre-order if I could. And I think I just can't get over it because it really reminds me of the program that I work for. And anybody new watching, I am a therapist. I work primarily with children, teens, young adults, and families. But the program that I work for is very like strengths based, and we really want to focus on empowering our clients to use their strengths and their interests and their talents to meet their goals and to help overcome their mental health and behavioral challenges. So we're all about encouraging youth to go after their dreams and encouraging their families and communities to support them in doing so. Because what we find is when youth or anybody has a purpose and a passion in life and goals that they are working towards, goals that they are actually interested in and not being told to do, they tend to do way better, right? A youth who is feeling supported in their goal of pursuing acting or singing or rapping or whatever is a lot less likely to get into trouble and to even struggle with things like depression symptoms than, say, someone who feels like all of the adults around them are telling them, no, like, don't do that, focus on this, etc., etc. And please don't mistake that for me saying that you can't suffer and struggle with serious mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, etc., even when you are like working towards your goals and building your talents and things like that. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the pattern that we see most often is that youth and just people in general who have a purpose and a passion in life and are following their goals that they have taken ownership of, like things that they are actually interested in and not being told to be interested in, tend to make healthier decisions and have healthier relationships and get into less trouble, and their mental health symptoms can definitely be a lot less severe, or at the very least a little bit easier to cope with. And so that's what we focus on. I mean, yes, we definitely focus on the mental health aspect. I'm a therapist, for heaven's sake. Like, we help them to build skills, coping skills, and to learn how to use their strengths and their talents to cope with their mental health symptoms. Like, yes. But then we also have that piece of how can we support this youth and this family to have more fun in life and to find their purpose and their passion, so that they have goals and something to focus on instead of everything else that's going on, instead of focusing on all the negative. So I really just love what Big Hit is doing, because it's like when they were kids, like, they had these adults around them saying, you know what, go for it. Like, we are going to support you in following your dreams. And look what happened. All right, all, that is it for today's therapy session. I hope y'all are smiling as big as I am and just basking in all the happy feels. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Bye, everyone.